Hi, I am meteorologist Allison Croghan. I am live here in the Fox 13 Weather Center. We just wrapped up the 5 o'clock news, and so now I am coming to you live on Facebook because we have some important stuff to talk about for tonight. So if you're just not joining us, I'm meteorologist Allison Croghan, and I have a lot of information regarding tonight's downslope winds. So the Fox 13 Weather Team, we've been chatting about this for a couple of days, and we decided this morning to launch what we call a first alert action day. And if you're not familiar with that branding, what it basically means is we have come to an agreement that we believe that a storm will impact a portion of the viewing area. So we'll have a big impact, especially for the northern Wasatch Front for tonight, eastern Box Elder County, and then our normal downslope areas like the Wasatch Front, northern Wasatch Front from Farmington, Centerville. That's an area that typically gets hit pretty hard with downslope winds, and then also Bear River County. So Bear River Range, Bear River Valley, we're going to see those very strong wind gusts for tonight. So it is a night that you'll want to stay weather aware, and I am tracking quite a bit of wind. Right now, our advisories and also our warnings have now gone into effect. So what you're seeing here, these are our current wind gusts. So if you can believe it or not, this was our lull this afternoon. Right now we do have that wind gusting about 30 to 40 miles per hour. This is pretty noticeable wind, but we're going to see this getting quite a bit stronger tonight, and we're also going to have the chance for some rain and snow here across the state as we look at the next couple of days. So I want to zoom in to show you what has just now started. The areas in that mustard color that you're seeing, that's a high wind warning. That'll be until tomorrow at noon. And then the wind advisory for the Salt Lake Valley, that just started, and that's going to go until tomorrow at 9 a.m. That's for Salt Lake and the Wasatch Back. That is a wind advisory. So the high wind warning, the area of yellow, that is where we're going to see our strongest winds for impacts here across northern Utah tonight and into tomorrow morning. I'm going to get into those specifics in just a second as far as how strong those winds are going to be. And I'm also going to give you some tips on what you can do to stay safe. But also keep in mind, it's warm and it is windy across southern Utah. So we're going to have red flag warnings in effect through tomorrow night. So let's talk about the setup for this storm. So we're going to see these very strong winds. Basically, it's that wind that's coming from the east moving towards the west. And we're going to see these downslope winds causing quite a few problems. The areas of yellow that you're seeing, those are wind gusts around 40 to 55 miles per hour. The areas of orange, those are wind gusts around 65 to maybe even 80 miles per hour. So we're going to have some very strong winds here tonight and into tomorrow morning. So the setup for this is that cold, dense air moving towards the mountains from east to west, essentially. Then we're going to have easterly ridgetop winds that push that dense air down the slope, and then that dense air accelerates and then it reaches its highest peak on the areas where many of you are living. And that's why we look at our future wind gusts for tonight. Logan, by 11:30, wind gusts around 62 miles per hour. For Huntsville, Farmington, Ogden, Brigham City, all about 50 to 60 miles per hour. Worth pointing out here, the reason we just have an advisory for Salt Lake and for the Wasatch Back, our wind will likely still be gusting in an area that's noticeable, could still blow some things around in your yard. But the most damage likely tonight will be for far northern Utah, for the far portion of the Wasatch Front, far northern portion, and then up into the Cache Valley, eastern Box Elder County. So we look at the rest of the overnight hours, and I want to pause this for you again. 1 a.m. We're still seeing these strong wind gusts, and then we potentially see some of those strongest winds through much of the evening hours. 4 a.m. tomorrow, that wind is still howling. By 9:30 a.m., what I want to tell you about is Utah Highway Patrol just tweeting out in the last hour saying they are fully expecting to work with UDOT in issuing high-profile vehicle restrictions in Davis County as the winds are trending faster. So if you are starting now, if you're planning on transiting Davis County in a high-profile vehicle, begin making plans to avoid the area. So we're going to have travel restrictions. That's one of the impacts from tonight. And even through tomorrow morning at 11:30 a.m., we're still seeing these winds gusting in Logan close to 55 miles per hour. So Salt Lake by lunchtime tomorrow, we're still a little breezy. Salt Lake and Park City about 15 to 25 miles per hour. But looking at the bigger picture here, these wind travel impacts, really that bullseye tonight, overnight hours, Salt Lake and further north into southern Idaho and southern Wyoming. And we'll continue through Wednesday morning, tomorrow morning, 6:30 a.m., morning commute, still seeing the areas of those wind gusts. And then second half of the day tomorrow, we turn into a whole different problem. It's no longer a gusty downslope wind event, but now we're looking at those fire problems for southern Utah. So any areas that are highlighted in that hot pink that you saw earlier, those red flag warnings, those are areas where you have warm temperatures, you have low relative humidity, and then the very windy conditions. And those things combined can create any fires that start can spread very quickly. So that creates a very high fire danger. So the main headlines, if you're just now joining us, very strong winds tonight. It's a gusty downslope wind event. It's a little different than the wind event that we had this morning, which was mostly canyon winds. Still very gusty. We had some very strong wind gusts that ran into problems, some downed tree lines, tree limbs onto power lines. We do have that possibility tonight. So potential impacts from this, we could have travel impacts, as we just talked about, especially Davis County, those high profile vehicles, and then power outages and property damage, all possible. So secure those outdoor objects. So those travel impacts, I-15, Box Elder, Davis, Weber, and northern Salt Lake counties, US 89, Legacy Parkway, are normal downslope areas, plus the Cache Valley and Bear River Valley. Possible property damage and power outages. You'll want to make sure you're getting that yard ready and you're charging your phone. So with these high wind warnings, very windy conditions are expected. Those strongest winds are expected overnight. If you live in an area with a high wind warning, so basically from North Salt Lake up into southern Idaho and over towards Evanston, high wind warnings just started at 6 o'clock here about a half hour ago. Those will be through tomorrow early afternoon. And you'll want to make sure that if you live in one of those areas, do not park your car tonight underneath a tree. Make sure your phone is fully charged in case you lose power. If you have an emergency kit, I know a lot of us here in Utah love to be prepared for disasters. I would make sure that the emergency kit is ready and on hand just in case something does happen. And if you notice that wind is howling 70 to 75, maybe even 80 miles per hour, we're going to end up with potentially, as I mentioned earlier, some damage. So we could see areas of concerns with trees that get blown over with this. Fencing could become a problem. Shutters could become a problem. And then if you're at home and that wind is just so strong and you notice that it's getting up there, I would recommend staying away from windows if possible. So please just be safe tonight. A lot of wind in the forecast. It's a gusty downslope wind event, and the bulk of this will be for Farmington, Centerville overnight, and then into even the Cache Valley. So it's a little bit of a different setup than we normally see for a downslope wind event, but I just want everyone to stay safe. And you're already joining this, so you're staying weather aware. I love that. And I'll have all the latest information for you coming up tonight on Fox 13 News live at 9. So from 9 until 10:05, I'll have the forecast for you. And then if you have any pictures ever for the weather, especially when we have a weather event like a wind event tonight, please let us know. You can email us news@fox13now.com. You can also tweet me at Allison Croghan. Find me on Facebook, Allison Croghan, Croghan. And I would love to see those pictures. So stay safe. I hope you don't have any damage. If you do have damage, though, you can always email us. You're seeing it on your screen there, news@fox13now.com. Again, strongest winds will be arriving here in a few hours through the overnight hours, but especially for the northern Wasatch Front and into the Cache Valley. So stay safe and stay weather aware tonight.